I'm not recording. Oh dear. I've spent the last 10 minutes talking to you and it hasn't been recording. Well, there's a less message there somewhere, isn't there? However, I will start again. Oh dear. I knew it was going to be a difficult day. It's full moon. Full moons are always difficult. This is the Pisces full moon. And as I was saying earlier, Pisces full moon is very gentle, very spiritual, a little bit confusing and drives you off the wall because you don't know what you're doing. So I've got a saying here which is a decree from Master Dwarkhold. It says, I leave my father's house and in turning back I save. Which means, well, I don't know what it means. It means different things for different people, but I know we sort of leave our beautiful, wonderful home of light and love and colour and all that, come to this dreary earth plane. Well, it is lovely, but it can be dreary, can't it? Because we do miss our home. And then when we go back, we take with us our knowledge and help other people, which I'm doing now, I suppose, in a way. So that was the full moon, and it reminded me of a visit. Oh yes, I was going to tell you about this weird thing that happened last night. I'm sharing it because if it happens to somebody else, they would worry. I mean, I do have a lot, well, we all have weird things happen, but this was particularly difficult. I've had it before when my mind is sort of running like you're going through a download on your computer. But I was woken up. One of my guides woke me up because I was in not a very good dream state. And I just, I could see, it was like, I'm not sure it was third eye, it was just people and things and I couldn't go back to sleep, and I thought, gosh, I hope I'm not losing my mind over this, because it felt like it. So I got up and had a cup of tea, and I was almost frightened to go back to sleep. I thought I was never going to come out of it, but of course I did eventually. And I've worked out it's something to do with almost like travelling back down through the subconscious, through the layers of subconscious, to get to the journey, isn't it? To get to where we want to be. And it's a way of clearing. The Buddhists do this. They actually stay awake all night in order to clear theirs. I understand. To clear their subconscious eye. So it took a couple of hours, and this morning I was again frightened to go back to sleep. So you can see I haven't had much sleep, and it was a little bit of a nightmare really. So I'll come through it. So I'm going to tell a little story today about my visit to a Franciscan Friary. The brother of St.Francis, this beautiful St. Francis. Animals and birds, lovely, lovely being. And he started this order. Of course, he's Italian, and I've been to the Basilica in Italy, beautiful, beautiful place where he's buried. And so I wanted to try this friary out, really, just to see what it was like. They don't have females in the order, but they do take visitors, obviously, and I was going to be a visitor. So I drove all the way down. And I had this romantic notion of them all being, in their brown robes with their knots, their cords around their waist. They have 3 knots in the cord: love, poverty, humility, chastity. I think that's the 3. I hope so. I should get reminded, no doubt. Yes, poverty, humility, chastity. And I had this vision of these brothers going around in their brown robes with these cords and swanning around. And of course, when I got there, I had shot. They were all in shorts and trainers. Very, very hot day, and who blamed them? That they were all very sweet. I don't suppose there were more than a couple of dozen there, all ages. Some of them were quite fanciful. I don't know how they felt about a female being around, because I was a bit silly, as you know. But I got friendly with Brother Hugh, and we often had little laughs and chats. It was just lovely. And anyway, one day I was doing the garden. I was asked to do the garden. Well, I loved gardening anyway, and it was quite a challenge because it hadn't been done for ages. And there's a garden called the Clare Garden, and I just loved digging away and getting the weeds out. And Brother Hugh came towards me with a little paper bag. He said, could you put these somewhere there for fritillaries? And I thought that was very sweet that he'd bought these, I don't know how long ago, and didn't know what to do with them. And he was obviously waiting for someone to come along to plant them for him, which I did under a tree. I think they're like little bulbs, little crocuses, and they're spring flowers. And I often wonder if they're still growing and whether he's still there, because all this, of course, was about about 30, 35 years ago. I just left my husband and I was trying out all these different things. But I loved it there, but they couldn't cook. And this is no disrespect, but many years ago, I mean, I was 30, 40 years, they couldn't cook. I thought, shall I help out in the kitchen? I thought, no, I'm doing the garden. I don't want to take over the place. There was another girl there actually, and we got on very friendly, had lots of giggles and lots of chats, and it was very, 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 very hot, and they were very short of water, so we were asked to share a bath. Well, not actually sit in the bath together, but share the water, because they were short. Oh, we had some fun, and but they couldn't cook, and I was very distressed actually. One evening, the Franciscan apparently one of the rules is they read out of a holy book during the evening meal. Well, this wasn't a holy book. I think they were having a little bit of a fix, actually. It was about some woman or prostitute, I think. I don't know exactly. But I felt very upset. I thought it was very disrespectful. But then they weren't expecting me, so you couldn't expect them to change their life for me. So I fled. I fled in tears. I was like that then, and I went to a little chapel and just sat and talked with St.Clare. I thought she'll know what I'm sure that isn't what they should have done, but that's what they were doing, and I was there, and I had to accept that. So I ran off in a bit of a huff, and I think somebody came to talk to me, and that was all very nice. So we overcame that. So yes, it was a really, really good visit. So I'm really leading up to tell you about the full moon, because it's full moon today, and that the full moon reminded me of that visit, because I think no, I thought I drove down. I think I went down 2 or 3 times, but this particular time I'd taken the train, and I met a very nice young man, and he was so sweet, and he wanted to join the order of St.Francis. So we had lots of chats about that, and he said, I'll take you home. And so in this battered old car, we got into this car, and it was quite late at night, and this huge full moon, and we were both looking up at this moon in mystical awe and went into a ditch. Well, almost. I mean, it was like a pretty near thing. We nearly got into this ditch, and that was looking at the full moon. So it just goes to, even with all this mystical full moon and stuff like that, you still got to be here, otherwise you will fall into a hole. And I've done many falling into holes, literally. So that was really lovely story. Actually, a couple of years ago, living here in my bungalow, I've got a nice little back garden, and I was sitting in my back garden, and who should come to see me but little John. He obviously had died. I don't know how. He would have been in his 60s, I suppose, now, and he was standing quite near to me. It seems like if you want to contact somebody in spirit, you need a link that could bring you together. Like if you want to contact somebody that's been in a kitchen, you need to contact the kitchen and food and things like that. So I guess the link between us was the garden, you see, because he stood and watched me gardening and was very interested. So I was sitting in my garden one summer, and I didn't see him, but I just felt him around me. I said, "Oh, hello, John." And we had a little chat about the Franciscan Friary, and he did actually get there, and obviously liked it very much. So that was a lovely little memory of that. But I haven't been since, because lots of reasons really, but I did see the girl a few times, but I wonder if it's still there really. And I know that they were very. Did I tell you about the communion? I don't think I've told you about the communion. I told you in the bit I hadn't recorded. I'll tell you again. So forgive me if I tell you again, but it is very important, this bit. They had like a little, not a church exactly, but a place that they used for worship, a little altar. And they had a communion. And so I went up for the communion. I thought I haven't been confirmed, but nobody would know. So I had this little communion. And there was a chap sitting at the back, and I said, why aren't you joining in? He said, because I'm a Buddhist and we're not allowed. But he was very, very sweet and did lots of little paintings and drawings. So he was so kind and so lovely. And the person who gave the communion, he was very lovely too. And they all sing beautifully. So when the most moving moment for me that weekend, I guess, apart from well, it wasn't moving, not eating. It was a lovely weekend, but being the brother that was giving the sermon, the communion, for a brief moment, I just saw him overshadowed by the Lord Jesus, Lord Jeshua, and that was so beautiful. Isn't that lovely? To think that must happen in every church, I guess, during a communion, if the person's open to it, I guess. So, gosh, I've rabbited on. It's 10 minutes. I better go. I better go. The colour isn't very good on this camera. I don't know what's wrong with it. It's very blurry. It doesn't look too good at all, so I'm having to work on it. But I'm sure you don't mind. As I said to myself this morning, it's not me they've come to see, it's to what I'm going to say. Inspired or not. So, thank you for listening, and if I've repeated myself on the communion, forgive me. I'm sounding a bit weird this morning, not having had much sleep. I'm still kind of trying to, it's like we're trying to be in two places at once, aren't we? Has anyone else found that? And of course, all this, well, I want to mention what's going on, that's another thing. So we've got to keep ourselves very conscious and very bright and very positive as best we can, and keep ourselves to ourselves, and don't forget to wash your hands. Okay, dear ones, take care, God bless. Take care, bye bye.